Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Inside Golf, along with Colleen Wolfe. I'm Harry Donahue. Today we're inside. We're at Stepney's in East Norton. This is sort of a half-hour teed off on Inside Golf today with a number of topics, including, Colleen, what was the best golf story of the year? Was it Rory McIlroy winning at the U.S. Open, or his buddy Darren Clarke at the British Open, or maybe something else?
Well, and Harry, we're also talking about the allure of golf travel compared to other sports. I mean, you're not flying to Ireland to play basketball.
No, I don't think so.
And legendary golf figures and how they stack up against the other sports.
It's all coming up next from Stepney's here on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf is brought to you by Yuengling, America's oldest brewery. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where America goes to play. Visit online at phillytomyrtle.com. By Nike Golf. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, celebrating 90 years.
The Philadelphia section of the PGA of America is celebrating 90 years. Since 1921, the professionals of the Philadelphia section have proven themselves to be the players, teachers, managers, and stewards of the game of golf in the Philadelphia area. They are the experts in the game and business of golf. Please join us in celebrating our 90-year commitment to the game of golf.
Guests of Inside Golf enjoy dining at Sin Sin, the popular Asian fusion restaurant located on Germantown Avenue in the heart of scenic Chestnut Hill.
And now it's time for Teed Off, brought to you by Yuengling, America's oldest brewery.
Were notable in the golf world.
Welcome back. Our Inside Golf special edition of Teed Off from Stepney's in East Norton. Live audience, obviously. And we begin with a panel of experts. Ed Sheeran, noted local golf course architect, is with us today. Jack McCaffrey from the Delaware County Daily Times. And from Golf Talk Live and Golf Styles Magazine, Tony Leodore. Gentlemen, our first topic today, and I don't know who wants to jump right in and answer this question, if there is one proper answer. But Jack, how about you?
All right.
What was the biggest golf story of the year, do you think? Let me begin with a little tease. Was it Rory McIlroy winning that U.S. Open, or his buddy Darren Clarke, the British Open, Yanni Seng? 5 majors under the age of 22? What was it?
I think you have to go with McIlroy because, Harry, that captured people's attention. The other stories that you mentioned there were notable in the golf world, but as far as capturing everybody's attention, for that one moment, Rory McIlroy caught everybody's attention. And in the post-Tiger Woods golf era, you're going to need something like that. So globally, I would answer that question to say the emergence of Rory McIlroy this year would be the #1 story.
Ed, you want to jump
I'm going to be redundant. I really think the McIlroy story is the story. Whenever you have a changing of the guard, which is exactly what's happening right now with the new young Lions coming up, you know, it's exciting for the sport. You know, when Arnold Palmer came in with Ben Hogan and Sam Snead, that was big. And Jack Nicklaus eclipsed him. Then you had Tom Watson. I mean, now the new young Lions, I think actually Tiger Woods not being in the mix right now is not that big of a deal. There's a lot of exciting players. I think the Masters was phenomenal. I think all the majors were great. But the new young golfers that are fearless, who would just attack the golf course, it's going to bring the next wave of young players into the game of golf.
Well, that's 2 votes then for Rory McIlroy. Now, traditionally, Tony goes in the opposite direction. What's it going to be this time? Huh?
No.
You're going to stay with these 2 guys?
These two panelists, these 2 esteemed panelists, are right. Partly.
I know it. And here comes the kicker.
Which is way more than Kern ever is. Mike Kern on this panel, they already broke his record of never being right on the thing ever once. So they are partly right. In America, Rory McIlroy was the bigger story. In Europe, where Darren Clarke has been a figure and a beloved figure for many, many years, it was a bigger story, especially with the emotional thing of the loss of his wife and coming back from it. And it had longer legs because he then went on a bend in the pub for about a week and a half.
I'm sure
and he
Roy
pulled
did pretty good. Roy did pretty good also.
And they both managed to make it onto Faraday on the Golf Channel, right? Which is something Tiger Woods, to my knowledge, has not done as yet.
Yeah.
But what about some of the other stories? How about Mr. Bradley winning the PGA Championship? Talking about, Ed, the vacuum that needs to be, full or filled now that Tiger's not around, or playing at least as well as he did in the past. I think that he could be wind up Player of the Year on the PGA Tour.
Well, I think so. I think he's a great player. Not only is he a great player, he's a really nice young man. I mean,
came from nowhere too.
Well, came from nowhere. He came from Woodstock, Vermont, which is 20 miles from a home I have in New Hampshire. So I was up there when he won that tournament. And
20 miles from you and 3 bears and I don't know what else.
All those things,
and
but I'll tell you,
sign,
northern New England was abuzz about the PGA, and
Well,
that was very exciting.
What he had going for him too was his aunt, right?
And his father,
Pat Bradley, who, noted LPGA superstar and Hall of Famer, and he came from that golf institution, that factory, St. John's, in New York.
That's right.
I mean, how many on 2 figures you can't name 2 great golfers that have come out of St. John's?
They've got some great AstroTurf patches they hit off of out at St. John's. Don't worry about it. It's pretty amazing. A great story, and we need a bright young American like Keegan Bradley. There's no question about it. But I guess really the bottom line to this whole thing is the big story for this year is that there really wasn't a big story.
Well,
right, and that's where there's a void there, and that's why when the question comes up, there doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason why somebody all of a sudden becomes magnetic. McIlroy has that. He has that it factor, and that may be where the future heads. And that, to me, that's why you can put that in a big headline, and people will gravitate to it. The rest of the great golfers, they don't have what this guy's got.
how about Tiger's divorce settlement? Does that rank up there, Tony, as a big story or not? It does if you're the ex-Mrs. Woods.
That made more headlines in the tabloids than all of these other ones put together, I guarantee.
And did you get the call to design Tiger's little par 3 hole down there in Jupiter? Or?
No, I didn't, but I lecture every year at Penn State, and the day that he had his press conference, we actually stopped a 4-hour presentation of the graduating landscape architects and agronomy kids there. We went over to a business arena. They had a widescreen TV, and we watched it for an hour. But I think that's old news. I think it's a shame what happened to him. Hopefully he gets his life back on track. I think more importantly than the psychological problems is his swing. I think he's got to go back to Harmon.
Sean Foley's out, huh?
That's I think that's where he played his best golf.
Right.
But Tiger's the kind of guy that doesn't want to acknowledge anybody else is important to him. He thinks it's all him.
No,
Jack, we're involved in sports as a columnist, as you are and as I was for many years, where the soap operas are every other day in all of the other sports. This never happened in golf before.
Not in golf, and the point I was going to try to make is a good point, Tony, is that I know you were being a little whimsical when you brought up is Tiger Woods' divorce settlement the big story of the year, but maybe that would finally put it to rest. I don't know where you go in the Tiger Woods soap opera from here. That's about it. We've followed it for a couple of years now. He got the divorce settlement. If he gets healthy and starts to play again, that would be great for golf. But I think that's probably it for the Tiger Woods soap opera. Do you think that would probably put a cap on it?
Unless there's some kind of new development, which I hope there isn't.
It's tired.
Yeah, I think really you're right that it probably has put a cap on it.
So in that sense, there was some value.
How about Yani Tseng? We teased with her. She's won 5 majors, and she's just about old enough to graduate from college. I mean, that's really raising the bar a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it just, I'm sure it has plenty of traction in Asia.
Right.
Not here?
It's not made, well, when she won her 5th, as much of an accomplishment as that was, I think that there was more coverage a few weeks ago when Alexis Thompson won her first event at age 16. Exactly. So, at least in this
people like
country.
the home court player. Americans will appreciate, all different types of players, but if it's their home court team, they're going to root for them the most. I mean, that was an amazing story. That's one we didn't talk about, but for a 16-year-old girl to come out and do what she did, and it's not Michelle Wie that, look like a model, but this girl's out there really doing it, playing against women, at a very high level, and have the presence she did. I mean, she may be the person who really brings back the LPGA as a major presence.
She has to get on the tour first. She's still trying to get that exemption, right? I think,
right.
Because you have to be 18 or something like that,
or play on the in the Q school. How about going back to needing to be a hometown player? Someone like Seve Ballesteros, who of course we lost this year, did have that traction in the United States. What was the difference between him and Yanni Singh? Where does that come in?
There's no answer to that, and that's what I'm trying to say. There is, you either have it or you don't. Sevi had it, Longer had it, Gary Player had it, Chi had it, McElroy. We're talking about foreigners,
Right, sure.
people who are not American players. They all had it. There's no rhyme or reason. We mentioned the young lady who had 5 majors. You could have, you talk about a tree falling in the forest and nobody hearing it. Exactly, but you get a 16-year-old American who wins, now all of a sudden, boom, you're turning your head and you're watching, you're saying, this is what the LPGA needed. This, I mentioned earlier, it's a gift from heaven to the LPGA, which was about dead, that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, and you can't script it, she legitimately won this tournament. She's good enough to win. Come out of nowhere. Now you've got a reason every week to look. Hey, what did that young lady? I mean, exactly. She might not be qualified, but you're going to be following her career
She'll
now.
be qualified.
Harry, there's one other great mystery, though, that has not come up in this entire discussion.
And what would that be, Tony?
And it is that we've been sitting here at Steppies for 8 minutes now, and none of us have a Yingling Lager light in front of us. Have they gone dry in here? Have the taps gone dry? Where is Steppy? I want to talk to him right now.
Well, you know what?
This is an abomination.
Hold that.
It never happened with Ed Sheeran here. This should not happen. This is an insult.
Hold that thought.
All right.
We'll get Steppy. We're going to take a break. We're going to get Steppy, and he's going to take care of Tony's request when Inside Golf continues in just a moment.
Experience what golfers voted #1 for quality, selection, and affordability. Over 100 different championship courses, including 7 of America's 100 greatest. Indulge in gourmet cuisine, pristine beaches that offer endless activities, active nightlife, and more. It's an easy drive, and affordable nonstop flights are now available from over 25 cities. Start planning your Myrtle Beach golf vacation today and request a free quick quote for the best package rates. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. It's where America goes to play.
Each sport has specific talent, and
welcome back. We're at Steppies here in East Norton, Facenda Whitaker Lanes for this special edition of Teed Off. And our panel includes, well, back for a repeat is Ed Sheeran, noted golf course architect from the Philadelphia area. Steppy, our host here at Steppies in East Norton, and Tony Leodore. Guys, the allure of golf travel, think of it. Who goes to, say, the British Isles to play tennis, or maybe down to the Caribbean to play basketball? Nobody. But when it comes to travel, golf seems to fit very nicely. What is it, Tony, that allure of traveling all around, literally all around the world just to play golf?
I guess the best way I can explain it is in the early days of Bluebell Country Club, when it was first built, it was a very loose association of people who came from all over the place. And it never really had gelled as a country club, you know, with that camaraderie and the things going on, until the first time we took a group of them away. And you had a bunch of players who went away together, slept together, not literally, and played golf together and came back. And then all of a sudden, groups were formed, and they've been doing it ever since. And that shows, you know, the special nature of golf. It has something to do with it. And I don't care where it is. I mean, we just came back from a golf and football trip to Notre Dame. You can't beat it.
So there's nothing like a road trip to bring everybody together.
I love them.
How about you, Ed? Now, you, in your line of work, of course, I'm sure you also have your eye out on different architecture depending upon the climate and depending upon the topography. That also is an attraction for you, right?
Well, for me, we steal good concepts anywhere. I mean, I go to Ireland or Scotland every other year. I've been doing this since 1990. And, you know, we're borrowing great concepts which stood the test of time. I think the real appeal, though, of golf travel is that golf's the one sport that you can go with your buddies, which you can do other sports all together with, but you can do it with different ages. I mean, I took my father, who just passed away this January when he was 76, my 2 sons. One was an all-state football player. The guy was an all-state lacrosse player. My dad couldn't play lacrosse. They couldn't play football. Well, we all went to Ireland for 10 days. Now, my dad passed. My sons will remember that trip for the rest of their lives. So it's a bonding of generations, sexes, and obviously the buddy trip is notorious.
Steppy, I'm sure you agree with everything that's been said so far, but do you
So
have any
far,
other additional lures to golf?
I do. You know, right out here is a bowling center. Every single lane is 60 foot long. No matter where you go, the lane is 60 foot long. The basketball court's 93 foot long or 94 foot long. They don't change. But every hole is different in the game of golf. And even just around this area, you could go to Lookaway, which I played the other day, is a far different type of golf course than, say, Plymouth is. But then you go down to Florida and you see different courses down there that are a whole bunch different up here, all different type grasses to play with. Go out west, you have the picturesque of the mountains behind you when you go to Vegas, if you could wake up the next morning to get to the golf course. I mean, we have literally times I put ball and chains on guys to make sure they showed up the next day.
Yeah, you're the one, right?
Yeah.
You're the sheriff. Okay,
But I believe that's one of the big things, that you can go around and play these courses because every single one of them are different.
Anybody have a particular story from one of your trips? I'm sure, at least for a family audience, you can repeat here.
I'll tell you a great one. This is from the first time that we went to Ireland, 1994. So one of the guys said, why don't we get a bunch of Notre Dame stuff? You know, the Fighting Irish, that might be pretty good. Talked to the Minister of Tourism, and he said, you know, the Irish in America like the Fighting Irish a lot more than the Irish in Ireland do. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's not, you know, one of the big things over here. I said, really? You're kidding me? He said, you know, but if you could, I know this is an impossible request, but there's a small school there they really like because there's a tradition. It's called Villanova. I said, really? He said, well, of course, we've been sending runners there for years and years and years. We fly into Shannon. We get there in the morning, and the morning newspaper is there, and the only thing on the front page of the newspaper is a huge picture of Sonia O'Sullivan, Villanova runner, winning the world championship 5,000 meter as she crossed the line. That's the whole picture on there, and the headline, "Oh, Sonia."
Timing is
our host then, our driver of the bus then went to every pub. He went in first, went in with a Villanova hat or shirt to the manager, said, I've got an elite group of Americans here. They're all tied in with Villanova. We paid for very few pints on that entire trip.
All right, Tony, we have from our audience, Dave Perrier from East Norton. Dave, we put the question to the people here at Steppies, where would they rather play golf? Say Ireland, Scotland, or Hawaii? What do they say?
50% preferred Ireland, 30% Hawaii, and 20% Scotland.
Okay, we have to make sure they get a lot of Villanova gear when they go over to Ireland. Inside Golf continues from Steppies. We're coming right back.
If 5 friends are having a light beer and they all put their drinks down in the same place, how long will it take to find the Yuengling Light Lager? About that long, because the rich amber color of Yuengling Light Lager makes it stand out from the rest. The true lager flavor, however, makes it disappear. 99 calories, 100% authentic lager. Yuengling Light Lager, from America's oldest brewery. Rethink your light beer.
Colleen Wolf's wardrobe is provided by Adidas, the leader in men's and women's apparel for the athletic golfer.
Welcome back. We continue here at Steppies in East Norton with our special half-hour-long version of Teed Off. We've kind of shuffled the deck except for the Joker card here in the middle, Tony. But we have Gerald Henderson, former NBA great. We won't say with the Celtics, but we will say with the Sixers. Gerald, good to have you today.
How you doing?
Jack McCaffrey is back from the Delaware County Daily Times, and Tony Leodora. Gerald, you know, golf has certainly come up with some legends over the years. I mean, you go way back, Bobby Jones, Gene Sarazen, whatever. But golf and other sports, how do the legends of golf, do you think, match up with some of the legends from baseball, from basketball, from ice hockey, boxing, you name it?
Well, you know, in golf, each sport has specific talents. And you know, guys excel at those sports just as in football, basketball, and baseball. I think that golf is a special sport that you really have to have a special talent to do so many things well.
Right. Jack, how about it? When you think back to some of the legends in golf, and the list continues to grow, it also grows in other sports. How do they match up?
It does. I think it matches up very well because one thing is an individual sport. So in order to have this topic, you've got to go to the individual sports first. The other sports are great, but most of them are team sports. You have to rely on teammates around you. the great individual sports, maybe boxing and golf would be the two that would come to mind when you talk about iconic figures. The difference is boxing's got so much alphabet soup and different weight classes and things. Golf is 18 holes, and it's been 18 holes, and it's been about the same distance for as long as sports has been around in America, and prior to that overseas. And these iconic figures, if you go back, way back up to Tiger Woods, they've all captured people's attentions in a great way. And that to me says that golf and its icons can compete with any sport at any time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the one little added feature is in golf, you can get closer to the players. I mean, you could be right next to the guy when he's hitting his
in
shot.
basketball, you can reach out and touch guys.
If you're in that front row, you can get pretty close. Boxing, yeah, you could be in the front row too, but you get splattered with blood. And Jack and I both have.
A couple times.
And that sucks. Believe me. That's not fun.
Well, guys,
getting close.
Tennis is another sport now. It's all individual. It's you, the tennis ball, and your opponent.
Yeah.
Although I'd have to say, when you're playing golf, you're out there by yourself. You have to make all the decisions. You're not reacting to anything else other than, well, what is this lie? How am I going to hit this lie?
And that's one reason why Tiger Woods, I thought, took it to the next level. Because traditionally, you always played the ball and the golf course. When you were playing against Tiger Woods, you were playing against him. He was staring you down. He made it very difficult to play against.
Yeah, the main thing in each sport, though, eventually there's somebody that rises to that larger-than-life status.
Perfect introduction to my next question. Okay, what makes an icon? 2 qualities, 3 qualities, what makes it for you?
Charisma, endurance, achievement.
Name somebody.
Joe Frazier. There's a guy that in the fight of the last century in Madison Square Garden, under great duress, when insulted and everything else, came up and knocked Muhammad Ali down. That was an iconic moment with an iconic figure. Obviously, a Philadelphia connection, so he's popular here, but to me, somebody like Joe Frazier would rate to that level.
Gerald?
I would have to say Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain has done something nobody else will even get close to, and that's score 100 points in one game.
And probably will never happen at that level, right?
Well, Kobe Bryant tried it. He got 81, 82, but nobody ever get that record ever again.
Yeah, I'll give you, what makes an icon? It's that moment that is just so unbelievable. Rocky Marciano once knocked out a guy punching him in the arm. True story.
That says more about the opponent, maybe, than it does Rocky Marciano.
Maybe, yeah, it was. I don't know what it was, but those kind of stories last forever.
Yeah, they're legend. Yeah. They're legend. Well, and in golf, Sarazen with the shot, the double eagle, the albatross on what, 15 at Augusta?
At Augusta.
And he invented a club. How many guys can say he invented a sandwich?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you another one too. Another guy. Babe Ruth. We all know it, and you're going to say, well, because of 60 home runs? No. A couple years before that, when he hit 59 home runs, he hit more home runs than any team in the American League. That's an icon.
That's a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
He had a year.
But to go beyond that, he even has his own candy bar.
And it made it in the Caddyshack.
And it's still around.
Growing up, Gerald, was Wilt your guy among all the sports? I mean, did you play baseball, maybe a little football or whatever?
I think when I was growing up, I saw more football and baseball than basketball. So I would say Jim Brown is a guy that stood out more than any other football player that I can remember when I was growing up.
Yeah, and he played in a relatively short career, Jimmy Brown, less than 10 years, and he did so much for the NFL.
Jack Nicklaus, 19 majors.
All right, we have Tom Craig from our audience, our live audience here at Steppies. And Tom, the question put to our live audience was, who was the bigger sports legend? Was it Arnold Palmer? Was it Wilt? Was it Babe Ruth? Or Muhammad Ali?
Well, according to the Steppy crowd, 80% was Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. So it must have been the candy bar.
Well, that question, I think the true answer to that question is Muhammad Ali. Because Muhammad Ali transcends his sport.
Right.
His name is worldly, it's universal. So you know,
Not in Steppies, though.
Not in Steppies today.
The other three guys were just in their sport.
How did the other three guys fare, Tom?
Well, 10% was Wilt Chamberlain and 10% was Arnold Palmer.
Okay, Tom Craig, a Titleist rep, with those answers here at Steppies. Thanks, Tom. And when we come back to Inside Golf, another legend, Lou Guzzi, is going to be giving us a little golf tip. That's next here on Inside Golf.
Come to Steppies Sports Bar and Grill to see all the Eagles and Phillies games along with your favorite college football teams. We also feature the NFL Sunday Ticket on our 30 TVs and 8 satellite receivers. Don't forget our nightly pint and food specials during the games.
The Philadelphia section of the PGA of America is celebrating 90 years. Since 1921, the professionals of the Philadelphia section have proven themselves to be the players, teachers, managers, and stewards of the game of golf in the Philadelphia area. They are the experts in the game and business of golf. Please join us in celebrating our 90-year commitment to the game of golf.
Nike Golf, in partnership with the Philadelphia Section PGA, present Better Golf.
Hey folks, Lou Guzzi here at beautiful Tallamore Country Club. I'm on the practice range working on a good solid downward strike with my hybrid. I want you to think about your hybrid clubs and your fairway woods. They need to be hit on the downswing, just like an iron. What do? I think about my 9-iron swing. I put that 9-iron feel into all my clubs. The driver's going to be hit slightly on the upswing and the putter slightly on the upswing. 14 clubs in the bag, 12 clubs are going to be struck on the downswing. Hybrid, fairway wood, 2 of those clubs. Okay, let's try another shot here. Look at that divot pattern. You can see a nice downward strike. Remember, when you hit the hybrids, when you hit the fairway woods, you're going to be further away from the golf ball than you would be with a short iron. That's going to shallow out the swing a little bit, so it won't be as deep a divot, but we do have to strike down. Here we go. Good solid compression. You can see the divot that I'm taking. Think about this when you're out on the golf course. Work on it on the range. I know this tip's going to help you with your game. And remember, keep them in the fairway.
Hope you enjoyed our special edition of Teed Off here at Steppies at the Facenda Whitaker Lanes in East Narden. Something to think about. And what's ahead next week?
Well, Harry, speaking of Facenda and Whitaker, the place where they played golf back in the day, Bala Golf Club. We're going over there next week, and you can check that out on InsideGolf.net.
Want to thank everybody here at Steppies, and that's going to do it for this week's edition. For Colleen Wolfe, I'm Harry Donahue. Remember, no matter how bad it's going for you, don't pick up. See you next time on Inside Golf.
Inside Golf has been brought to you by Yuengling, America's oldest brewery. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where America goes to play. Now fly nonstop on Spirit Airlines. Details at phillytomyrtle.com. By Nike Golf. And by the Philadelphia Section PGA, celebrating 90 years.